My father was he was a mariachi. So from the time I can remember, I was listening to him play and I was listening to mariachi music. There's a really great picture of the two of us from when I was 2 or 3, and he's standing up and he's got his trumpet out here and he's yelling, he's singing, and and I'm just, a little boy kind of taking it all in.
Bienvenidas, bienvenidos. I am Cristina Vázquez, founder and director of Contenidos Artísticos. Welcome to another episode of the Escena Cross-Border webcast, dedicated to artists and other performing arts professionals whose work has enriched the exchange between Mexico and the United States. Today, we have as our guest the Mexican-American dancer, choreographer, and teacher Francisco Graciano, better known as Cisco, who earned his master's degree in dance from Florida State University. Born in San Antonio, Texas, Cisco has collaborated with prominent figures such as stage director Robert Wilson and composer and pianist Philip Glass. For more than 10 years, he danced with the Paul Taylor Dance Company. During the stage, the New York Times considered him a virtuoso star, and critics recognize his freshness as a dancer. As a choreographer, he has created works for different groups and principal dancers, including Lorenzo Pagano from the Martha Graham Dance Company. His work as a dance photographer has been featured in prestigious publications like Dance Magazine and in the galleries in San Francisco and New York. Welcome, Cisco. Muchas gracias por aceptar nuestra invitación. Estamos muy contentas de tenerte con nosotras.
Gracias. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to see you.
So let's start the conversation then. I wanted to ask you, how strong is your connection to your Mexican roots and why? I know already, your father was born in Mexico, but would like you to share with us uh, how deep was your connection with Mexico through your father?
Hmm. My father was he was a mariachi. So from the time I can remember, I was listening to him play and I was listening to mariachi music. There's a really great picture of the two of us from when I was 2 or 3, and he's standing up and he's got his trumpet out here and he's yelling, he's singing, and and I'm just, a little boy kind of taking it all in. But he also enrolled my sisters in folklorico, so they were they were in folklorico until they were teenagers, and every year I was celebrating Day of the Dead. My padrino died pretty young, but I remember him really well, and we would celebrate. And my father told me the history of the Aztecs. There was a time he told me, once I was in the doctor's office. It was when I was first learning to speak, and he told me that people kept looking at us because he would show me a flashcard of a Aztec god, and I would say it. I don't remember any of them now, but um, but it was he was very passionate about the history of Mexico and who he was and the culture, and wanted me to understand where I came from, and always told me that, remember, you're going to go on and do great things, but you always have to give back to your community. And that's always been something that's stuck with me, and probably why I became an educator, and also why I love choreographing. Also, because I get to share, whether I'm implicitly or explicitly talking about my culture or my identity as a Mexican American in the work I create or not. I'm there, I'm in the room, and being able to share the space with people feels like community, and that's what I grew up with. So It was a very strong, and the reason I got into dancing was because PBS was showing something during Hispanic Heritage Month. There were two dancers. One was Evelyn Cisneros and another Mexican man that I don't recall. And they were dancing a duet, and they were telling the story about this Mexican folktale through dance. And I just said, I want to do that. And when I was 8 years old, and my father, remember, this is a Mexican who lives in South Texas, where you don't wear shorts in South Texas. You get for celebrating or for saying, whatever. And he said, you need ballet for that. And which I thought was just a revolutionary move for a Mexican man in South Texas to say that. I mean, this guy was thinking outside the box before, anything was cool. So yeah, quite a bold move. And so it's very much a part of who I am, whether I talk about it in my work or not. It still always seeps in.
Wow, it's lovely that your father has this huge vision about dance, about you. What was his name?
Ricardo.
Ricardo. Ricardo Graciano.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Well, I love that you mentioned community, right? Because when you live in the States as a Mexican American or as a Mexican myself, you always look around and trying to be part of of your community, right? So, and talking about community and in the dance community as well in the States, in Mexico, we always try to be part of that dance community as well and create a new work, right? In Mexico in 2022, you participate in the Bach Dance Project, promoted by Contenidos Artísticos and premiere at the 50th anniversary of the Festival Internacional Cervantino in collaboration with the Instituto Estatal de la Cultura de Guanajuato. You work with 6 Guanajuato-based dancers, and also you experience to live in Guanajuato City, which is a beautiful city, but also you go back and forth, don't remember, 3 times during the year or so. And then you premiere this piece in one of the most important festival in the whole world. So how was that for you?
It was an incredible experience, personally, professionally, artistically. I part the purpose for me, the goal for me was to find the intersection of the community of Guanajuato, the dance artists that I was working with, Johann Sebastian Bach and Paul Taylor, because I was also asked to come in and teach technique classes in the Paul Taylor style. And I wanted dancers to, taking a cue from Paul, to learn the style, but also come into the room creatively with their own experiences in their body and in their daily lives. So one of the most valuable things I learned, I experienced from working with Paul, was that he wanted people to obviously do his style and do his choreography, but he wanted dancers to individualize the work. He didn't ask dancers to do it the way someone else, exactly the way someone else did it. He wanted to do dynamics, musicality, freshness, and this is how I went into the rehearsals with these 6 dancers. They were new to the Taylor style. I wanted them to try it on like a nice jacket. And how would you wear this jacket? That's kind of the best analogy I can give for a general public. But I think that what we ended up making was something that I hope reflected the community of Guanajuato on this very, very, as you said, important stage and venue, because I wanted to celebrate who I was and what my roots were, but I also wanted these people to see themselves on the stage. And I asked the dancers often in every rehearsal, to work to create work that was really on their own from their own bodies. So I gave them prompts and we worked through that. But then I also asked them to, much like Paul, be a reporter and go out and observe people in your community and how they interact and notice what comes up for you. Notice what you notice, but others don't. And ask those questions and take a mental photograph or an actual photograph if you're brave of those moments just walking down the street from the train to your car, etc. And because I want you to bring those moments into the work itself. And then, of course, because I was facilitating the rehearsals and directing and doing a lot of the choreography, it was very personal for me too. So I think that the added bonus of having a live orchestra with a Mexican conductor who was phenomenal was really did kind of elevate the community of Guanajuato, and hopefully empowered them in a way that where they could see, hey, I know these people, they live in my community. Now they're on stage in this beautiful venue. Yeah, that was the experience for me. It was deeply, deeply meaningful. Especially also to reflect on my father, who I'll just little correction. He was born in Eagle Pass, Texas. His parents were in Mexico, but we visited Mexico and my family in Mexico all the time growing up. So
yeah, thank you, Cisco. And I know for those dancers, that work that you did, all of you made still very in their hearts and in their minds. It was very important work for them as well. And also, I want to recognize that this collaboration was also part of with the initiative of Paul Taylor Dance Company, specifically with Michael Novak, who really get involved and went to Mexico, to Guanajuato as well, and work with the dancers and give them all the knowledge that he learned with Paul and the institution. So that is part of this important work that we are doing, trying to get involved companies, dancer, choreographers, institution in both part of the border, especially now that is very needed, right? So we continue with your work in Mexico, because for us, for Contenidos Artísticos, your work in Mexico has been very important. I really appreciate your time, your knowledge, and that you always be in the best mood with us and with the people who were there in Mexico, dancers, choreographer, and institution. Thank you. Together with Mexican choreographer Daniela Urias, you offer a choreography creation lab in contemporary dance in Aguascalientes in July in 2023. What did you observe about the Mexican dancer in this workshop? You have like 28 people working together. It was such a great workshop.
it was great. Well, first, I just want to say like immense gratitude to you and Daniela and everyone involved for valuing what I can bring, because sometimes I just have to pinch myself that I have these opportunities. And you mentioned that I bring a positivity and I bring a light and lightness, but I think it's because of all the gratitude that I have for being able to do this. So thank you. So yeah, Daniela and I designed and conducted a workshop for, yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 28 dancers in Guadalajara, at the University of Guadalajara.
Aguascalientes.
Aguascalientes, okay. And Daniela, I have to give so much props to her because an incredible dance artist and creator and community centric, artist. I think she is incredibly talented. She's also my translator often. when I was speaking my broken Spanish. Immense gratitude to her. Um, the dancers that I noticed in this workshop had a way of taking risk that is I felt very unique and unusual to the American dance artists that I've worked with. Um, I think in American culture, I'm making a bold, grand statement, but I think often in American culture, we're very concerned with appearances. We're very concerned with the exterior and the product. And I often feel like it's not as valued. And what I discovered and observed when I was in Aguascalientes last year was nothing was precious. Everything was for the process. Everything was for growing and finding the experience and not even acknowledging that something might be awkward or weird or avant-garde, etc. That they led with their feelings. They led the choreographic instructional prompts with what they felt and what they sensed. And that resonates a lot with me because in my work, that's how I work, in my own solo work. But it was so refreshing. And I think one of the most special parts about it was that the demographic of age was all over
Right.
I mean, we had high school to college to people in their 50s and 60s. It was so inspiring, and everyone was there. Everyone came for the same reason. They came to experience the process of what it felt like to try something new, on. And I've taken that with me everywhere I go, every creative space. The last thing I said to all of them and on the last day was, what I've learned here this week from you all is hard to put into words, but I will never forget it. And I will take it with me everywhere I go, in every class, in every rehearsal studio. And that's still true to this day. I mean, it's only been a year, but it's the ability to let go of what I look like and what do I feel like and what am I saying with my body, can offer so much style and uniqueness in choreographic experience. So those are my observations, and I'm just in immense admiration for the Mexican community in Aguascalientes, at least.
Thank you, Cisco. Yeah, it was a great experience. In the end of the workshop, they present work that they actually made during the process, and they're still asking for you to come
Oh,
someday
good.
soon. So
Anytime.
let's talk about that, but after the webcast.
Okay.
And yeah, but this is very important. I'm gonna go back a little bit about Daniela Urias, because part of this process that go back and forth between Mexico and the United States, as you come to Mexico and you made a piece, and then Daniela went to New York in this year, in the spring. And she works with the Ballet Hispánico to create a new piece in the Taller Coreográfico. And then we continue trying to do this, right? Go back and forth, building bridges, collaboration. So how can a lasting exchange in the arts between Mexico and the United States be achieved? What action need to be taken um, for everybody that we work together in this? I mean, I can name you, Vanessa Sanchez, David from San Francisco. I mean, there Michelle Manzanales. I mean, there are a great choreographers, but also Daniela Urias, Diego Vasquez, Raúl Tamés from Mexico, that they have done also work in the States. So what should we be doing? How can we go and get more work done for the community? The
Well,
1 million question.
just a simple little question. How do we change the world? Um, I mean, I will start by saying I think I've been admiring what you've been doing since I've known you. So I think everything you're doing feels like the right way, feels like the right steps, and to create the lasting exchange that we all want. Um, I also, I think sometimes I think about it like Mexico and the U.S. and we share the same land, we're on the same continent, but there's this border, and it becomes such a political term when you use the word border. But I think it's as artists, the border is in my body. I am Mexican and I am American, so there is a cross nationalist sort of border within my body, and the millions of Mexican Americans who live in the United States, and Mexico, as well. And so sometimes I think, like, does that added realization and acknowledgement of realizing that we're living with a border inside of our DNA, has some sort of impact on how we relate with each other, with these two separate entities with two different histories, shared histories in some ways. But I think that education and the exchange of choreographic information and choreographic knowledge, like what you're doing with Daniela and Ballet Hispanico, what a brilliant, accomplishment that you were able to get that going. I think it takes more of that. It takes persistence, but also education on what art can be. That it's not just something that's high and mighty and unattainable. That everyone has access to it, and we can access it through our Mexican friends, and we can access it through our American friends, and those exchanges are really important. But but I think there is an acknowledgement. Did you see the New York Performing Arts Library exhibit, crossing borders, crossing
Oh,
boundaries?
yeah.
I thought that was there were some things that hit for me in that, in a really effective way about, and one of the things that I really pulled out of it in general, and sort of in general, was that I am living in a cross-border, literally in this body for 40 years, X years. I have been living in this place where I feel not quite Mexican. When I go to Mexico, I don't feel Mexican at all, right? And then when I'm in the States, there's also this sort of, there's a strange space. And then when I find Mexican American communities, that's where I go, oh, like, okay, I get this. And so connecting those Mexican American communities together, much like what David Herrera is doing that you mentioned in San Francisco, those are very important too. And I know you're connected with that organization as well. So yeah, I think the question is great. And I think it sounds like the question is really what drives contenidos artísticos as well. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful question. Yeah, I think it's great.
Thank you, Cisco. Yeah, well, I think this is it's a journey. Like, we are gonna have to go through, or at least in Contenidos Artísticos, we are going through, and it's gonna be uh to our whole life, because we are Mexican living in the state, but we are also American citizen, and we also share this knowledge and this Mexican American culture that I really admire. And I feel part of them as well. And I feel privileged that you guys take me in that community as well, as a Mexican and as an American citizen. So I also want to acknowledge and thank Aisha Amatpos, who has been a great partner in this exchange with us, with Cisco, also as a good friend. Also, I want to acknowledge Lisa Conlon, who has been a great partner as well. And they both have believed in this project since the beginning. So we are in this together. Thank you, Cisco. You want to add something else?
I don't have anything to add, no, other than I hope I can, you know, I hope I can continue to be valued in any way that you need me for this. You know,
Oh,
it's very
oh, you
important.
can please share your social media. Where can I
Sure.
find you?
I am at Cisco Graciano, Cisco Graciano, on Instagram and pretty much all the social media stuff. And and I have a website, it's franciscograciano.com. It stays pretty updated. And I'm the newest tenure track faculty at New World School of the Arts in Miami. Proud to say, yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you, Julieta. Thank you, Tev,
Thank you.
who are they are part of the Contenidos Artísticos team. And see you soon. Gracias, queridísimo.
Gracias.
Besos. Adiós.
Adios.